I did not see a date on it. How was that on? The date's not on there, Andrew. The date's not on there.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome to our last meeting of September. I had to look. Hard to believe, it's almost October. We have a few people in our audience tonight, a couple of things, and hopefully a few more watching us on our YouTube channel. Our invocation tonight will be given by Matt Harbin, Councilman Matt Harbin, in respect to the flag will be led by myself. Please rise.
Let us pray. Dear Lord, thank you for letting us live in a free country. I pray for our country that division will become unity. I pray for our state and our county and our city that you would protect us. I pray for our fire and police to keep them safe. I pray for our city team, our employees, our administration, and this council that we would make wise decisions that build unity in our city. I pray for our great citizens that make our city special. Keep them healthy and safe. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, there's always a celebration here at the Electric City, so we're here today to celebrate something. And I'm going to ask Maria Torres to come up and join me. And I have a proclamation that I'm going to read, and I'm going to ask her to just say a few words while we're here after the proclamation. And the proclamation reads, whereas every year National Hispanic Heritage Month is observed and celebrated by Americans across our nation between October the 15th and September the 15th and October the 15th. The celebration, which began under President Lyndon B. Johnson as Hispanic Heritage Week in 1968, was expanded by the United States Congress in 1988 to be a month-long celebration. And whereas throughout our nation's history, millions of migrants have traveled to America in search of freedom, justice, and opportunity. And whereas Hispanic Heritage Month recognizes the contributions of generations of Hispanic Americans who have enriched our nation by making contributions in science, education, and politics. And whereas from food and fashion to music and art, the Hispanic Americans have had a positive influence on the life of all Americans, are a vital component of the diversity that makes the city of Anderson a vibrant and thriving community. And whereas Hispanic Americans represent one of the fastest growing ethnic groups in the nation, enriching our community's value of faith and family, hard work and sacrifice of generations past, while contributing to the promise of a prosperous city for future generations. And whereas it is incumbent upon all of us to join together to celebrate the work of Hispanic Americans from all walks of life who, in pursuit of the American dream, have made Anderson, South Carolina their home and have committed themselves to build a strong, safe, and welcoming community for all. Now, therefore, I, Terrence B. Roberts, Mayor of the City of Anderson, along with my fellow council members, do hereby proclaim the month of September the 15th through October the 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month in the City of Anderson, and encourage citizens of this community to recognize the unique heritage and contributions of Hispanics to the cultural life of our city, state, nation, and world. Proclaim this 23rd day of September, 2024.
I'm short, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for the incredible honor. I'm deeply grateful to accept this proclamation on behalf of the Anderson County Latinx Advisory Council as we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. We are deeply grateful to the City of Anderson for its continued support of the Hispanic community. Your recognition helps ensure that our stories, contribution, and traditions are celebrated and valued, not just during Hispanic Heritage Month, but throughout the year. With me today are students from the Hispanic community proudly wearing their cultural attire. They look so wonderful. They represent the heart of our future and the vibrant legacy we share. This year is especially exciting because for the first time, we're hosting a student contest at our upcoming Hispanic Festival on October 12th. I hope to see everybody there at the Farmers Market Pavilion. The contest will feature entries from art, poetry, and dance, and encourage these young voices to express their creativity and pride of their culture. Let's continue to honor our roots, celebrate our diversity, and work together to build a brighter future. Thank you. Going around.
So the minutes of our September 9th meeting were distributed via email and also in our packets. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Not hearing any, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
First by Mr. Martinez, second by Dr. Thompson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those minutes pass unanimously. We don't have any old business, and we have 4 items of new business. And the first item of new business is a referral, and it's requesting consideration of a referral to the Planning Commission, a petition to rezone the rear portions of 2617 and 2619 Whitehall Avenue from RM10 single-family residential to R5 single-family residential. Mr. McEwen?
Thank you. Real quick, this item here is one in which I think you'll be interested in as we continue to see some of these with infill residential development and opportunities there. So that's some of the things that we've talked about at our retreats and through our planning process. And so this aligns within that. And Mr. Maurice McKenzie, Development Director, will go over this for us.
Okay, thank you. Again, this property, or actually there's 2 properties, 2617 and 2619 Whitehall Avenue. The applicant owns both of the properties, and there are 2 houses, one on each of the properties. He's renovating both of those properties. But as you can see in the map that's attached to your packet, the lots are very deep, and they exceed the 10,000 square foot minimum lot size by 3,000 square feet each. So they are deep, there's a lot of land there, and as Mr. McEwen mentioned, the plan is to carve out a new lot using portions of both lots at 2617 and 2619 Whitehall Avenue, and the plan is to build a new single-family house on the newly created lot. You can see on the map that that newly created lot will actually have East Frederick Street frontage. Now, the 2 lots that we were talking about earlier where the property is being taken from, they will still remain over 10,000 square feet in size, so they will still be in zoning conformance. They are requesting an R5 zoning classification because this new lot will be around 8,000 square feet, which would not qualify for R10 zoning. So they're asking for R5 single-family residential. And again, it is to build a single-family house. And again, we're encouraged to see infill development of this type. But this is a referral coming to you tonight. It will go before Planning Commission on October 1st. Once they make their recommendation, it will come back to you for consideration during the month of October.
Thank you, sir. Questions before it goes to planning?
Has any of the neighbors expressed any positive or negative?
No, sir, not yet. We haven't really received any comment. This is the beginning of the process, but it's possible we will have some calls when they see the sign posted and all of that.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Would this be the only home that would face that direction?
That's correct. Right now, you have the properties facing Whitehall Avenue, and then this lot would face East Frederick Street, basically looking across the street at Mama Penn's, essentially. The property to the west is frontage on Main Street, so that's zone general commercial.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
would R5 zoning allow for anything other than a single-family residence?
No, sir. As a matter of fact, the applicant initially wanted to see the development of a duplex or something along that lines, but there's just not enough land to meet the requirements for that.
Anything else, guys? It'll come back.
Mayor, I move we move it on to the planning commission.
First by Mr. Jeff Roberts.
Second.
Second by Mr. Steele. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. The next item is to request consideration of paving resolutions to Anderson County Transportation Committee, and the South Carolina Department of Transportation. And seems like you're always up again, Mr. McKenzie. You're up.
Thank you. Only a couple tonight, though, thank you. So, but again, this is something that's you're very familiar with. We bring this to you on an annual basis. It pretty much stays the same every year, except the list obviously changes some. But every year, we submit repaving resolutions to Anderson County, the Anderson County Transportation Committee, and the SCDOT, and we always hope that these resolutions will help provide direction to these agencies when they develop their own paving priority lists. And in fact, the Anderson County Transportation Committee, they do require that you pass a resolution with the paving list in order to receive funding for paving projects through that agency. So that's one reason why we do it now. When we look at the streets on the lists, we have a tiered priority system, and we use the DOT's weighted ranking system that looks at paving condition, average daily traffic counts, economic and community impacts, and the population affected. Also, we have a cohesion bonus, which means that we try our best when we're evaluating streets to keep neighborhoods together. We don't want to pave one street in a subdivision and leave the rest alone. So we have that cohesion bonus we consider as well. But in your packets tonight, you have 3 resolutions, one to Anderson County, one to the Anderson County Transportation Committee, and one to the SCDOT. And we do maintain an extensive database of streets, a couple hundred local streets, a couple hundred state-maintained roads. But it's not necessary to submit all of those. We only submit the top-ranked streets that you see in your packets for consideration on an annual basis. Now, in your packet, there's been a revision since it was distributed to you. I sent out an email on Friday, but also in front of you tonight, I passed out a revised paving list, the local streets it affects. It was brought to our attention by one of you that one street was left off of the list. It's Wood Street. And when looking at it, we found out that it was kind of grouped with a connecting street in that area, so it was left off the list. But when we evaluated it, it's probably one of the worst streets in the city. So it immediately moved to the top of the list, as you can see. So with that being said, we're bringing to you tonight 3 resolutions for consideration, and we recommend that you do that with the revised list, including Wood Street.
And I'll just add one comment as a reminder. The C funds themselves that we apply for, they go to, in this county, they go to the Anderson County Transportation Committee. It comes from a 3.99 cents per gallon of the state gasoline tax, which is distributed to each of the 46 counties based on population, land area, and rural road mileage. So there's a calculation of that, and then they divide that out statewide. And so in this case, the ACTC is charged with administering those funds, and that's where we try to provide direction towards local street needs.
Good. And I would say over the years that the ACTC has been very kind to the city of Anderson. And I know in some of the other 45 counties in our state, that relationship between the transportation committees and municipalities not that strong sometimes.
It's
So I
sometimes
appreciate-
non-existent. We have a very positive relationship with them, and it's been teamwork, and we've been providing a match to the funding. And it's been flexible as needs arise as well, so.
Good. Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Ms. Harvey?
So, Mr. McKenzie, I've been on council a little while, and it seems like years ago, we used to have like 300 roads on here. It was like page after page after page. And, I think it's a great idea because none of those, got paved, and we consolidated the list, I don't know how many years ago. How many streets off of here normally get paved in a cycle? Or is that a hard question to ask?
Well, it varies because of funding, and each individual street, obviously will cost different amounts because of length, width,
Yeah.
road condition, things like that. But, it seems like each cycle when we receive ACTC funding, we can knock 7 or 8 streets off that list. With the SCDOT streets, again, we submit our priority list to them. They don't follow it to a T. I think, a lot of times they have their own priority list, but they may use this as a guide. So throughout the year, there may be 7 or 8 of those as well. So it's not, a massive amount, but we are chipping away at it, no doubt.
And for the DOT, it kind of comes from 2 pools of money. So you'll see, say, Whitehall Road. That's not run through ACTC. That's another pool of money that they have for state roads, significant state roads. However, the C Fund statute does say that, I believe it's 33% that DOT, that says it will go to DOT from the local funding for local roads that the state owns. So 33% of that funding from ACTC still goes to the state, and that's where we're trying to guide it some, is on more of those third tier traffic, not the Whitehall Road that just got repaved, not Centerville Road, those things, but more towards their smaller DOT roads they own.
That I'd make a motion, we approve this.
First by Mr. Horgan.
I just had one quick question to follow up on that. So
Let's get a-
essentially, our local,
Let's get a second, then we'll keep.
I'll give a second.
Second by Mr. Martinez, go ahead.
thank you,
Stu.
Mayor. So the local list, essentially, we do have, say, the state paving list, it's like, here's what we want you to do, but they can kind of do what they do.
Yes, absolutely. So
Okay.
they come in with their engineers and they say, they receive our information, and they do want it. They do request it, so they do want a resolution from you guys, and they ask for that. But then they'll take their own, what they think their priorities are and add to that.
Sure. Thank you.
So it means that these lists that you see here may not get the same rating, like 1, 2, 3, 4. They may not get paid, right?
Are you talking about on the state list or the local list?
On the, Anderson local
local.
pay list.
The local list, the ACTC has respected our list and just gone by it. So they've taken our direction on that. The only thing that may change is once the engineers get out there and do the assessment of the actual road and the condition, then we might have to move some stuff around a little bit of how it gets bid out and contract administration. For example, say there's a big subdivision in there, and the engineering's just really bad on that. Well, then sometimes decisions have to be made. Do you take on that whole project? Do you not take on that whole project? Do you add some the small streets in there, that type of thing? And so our goal is to hit small streets that we have here, and also we have a cycle that we do on the subdivisions that we have throughout the entire city. So.
Good. Any other questions, comments? Had a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution passes unanimously. The third item of new business is request consideration of a contract for the Hammond Acres Pond Rehabilitation Project. Ms. McEwen?
Okay, bottom line first, this is funding from the American Rescue Plan Act that we had a lot of work sessions on, and we've been administering these projects. It's been a tremendous aid to the city of Anderson, particularly in the stormwater side, where we were underfunded. We were never going to catch up with funding based on any fee increases on property. It just wasn't going to catch up when the city was mandated to enter into the stormwater utility administration and ownership. We just had too many needs that far outweighed the revenue source or even the future revenue sources. And so when this came along and we talked about those projects, we focused, and our recommendation was, hey, let's take advantage of this funding from the federal government to really focus on stormwater, because that's not an area that we can raise revenue on to catch up on these projects. And this is another one of those projects before you, a great project that holds a stormwater for us in this area, and our city engineer, Lucretia Bilbrey, will go over this item and administer this project. Lucretia.
Thank you, Mr. McEwen. Mayor and council, the request we bring to you for consideration tonight is for a construction contract with Civil Pros Incorporated to conduct draining operations at the Hammett Acres Road Pond. Last year, we completed a project which replaced approximately 600 feet of failed corrugated metal pipe. And this pipe discharged directly into the Hammett Acres Pond. And due to this failure, large amounts of sediment were deposited into the pond. The pipe was ours. The pond is a private pond. After the repairs were made, we contracted with Seaman Whiteside to do the engineering and design to remove the excessive sediment from the pond. During that design process, they surveyed the pond. They determined as closely as possible the original depth of the pond, how much sediment it had in it. And it was estimated that in the upper half of the pond that there was an additional 2 to 4 feet of sediment over the original depth of the pond. This project was advertised for bid using the city's website, the Independent Mail, and the South Carolina Business Opportunities. We had a pre-bid meeting on site, and we had representatives from 2 companies attend on On August 18th, we received bids from 4 companies: LJ Incorporated, Green Acres Farm, Ashley Corp, and Civil Pros Incorporated. The city staff recommends awarding this contract to Civil Pros for the bid amount of $349,000 plus an additional contingency amount, which would cover up to an additional 100 cubic yards of excavation if needed, for a total of $355,000. And I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Comments?
Yes, sir. So what are they gonna do with the sediment?
Any of it that the homeowner wants kind of left there to fill in, that's what we're gonna do. The rest of it is going to be deposited in Public Works in the back lot, which is kind of standard. When we have extra dirt, we put it back there. It can dry out, and then we can use it as needed. So, and it eliminates any hauling fees or tipping fees for landfill for that.
Any other questions, comments? Ms. Roberts, Jeff?
Being the civil engineer up here, I had to ask a couple of questions. The city relies on the pond for stormwater storage, correct?
Actually, it's not a storage pond. It was originally a creek, and it was built as kind of a neighborhood farm fish pond. So our stormwater passes through it. That doesn't have, it's not a detention pond for us. It's just, that's where the water was going, and we piped it 80s maybe. And we have an easement for piping it. It comes up from around Pine Lane and kind of where the new Whataburger is. That's kind of where that area drains to naturally, and so so the pond isn't there to collect sediment or control the rate of stormwater runoff or anything like that. It's just, it was intentional. It was built as a big fishing pond for the neighborhood.
But we feel as a city responsibility for having dumped the sediment in, therefore it's our responsibility to remove it.
I think we have that responsibility because it is a fairly massive undertaking, and the pipe that they agreed to let us run across their property years ago failed, and like Mr. McEwen said, we were underfunded, and it was like that for a significant amount of time. You know, failed pipe just sucks dirt from everywhere, and they're up near the where our pipe outfalls into the pond. There's basically sediment is up. There's just a few inches of water. It's not deep, so the deer can walk across now.
Yeah, I got a quick question too.
Sure.
Ms. Bilberry, would you say the sediment actually negatively impacts our ability to pass through stormwater through the pond to the downstream?
Probably to some extent, because the stormwater is gonna have some sediment in it, and you're naturally gonna get some of that dropout. So it eventually, if it continued to fill in, I mean, our stormwater wouldn't really have anywhere to go, once it gets through. So it is not, it's not the fault of the homeowner. That's
So
for sure.
it would reduce the gravity flow, is that correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So the gravity flow coming out of the pipe that enters into the pond, if the sediment will continue to build up, that would negatively impact our pipe structure that
Yes.
moves the stormwater through
Yeah.
here?
Yes.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Where does it go after this pond?
Lake Hartwell. It goes through the, back of Hammond Acres, which goes to, it's kind of the back of Grayland and that direction. And it ends up in Lake Hartwell shortly thereafter.
So it goes down by our sewer pump station, under the parkway, and then into Hartwell?
Yes.
Okay.
Neil? Jeff?
One final question. Does this open us up to any further responsibilities? Like, for example, the condition of the dam, if there is a dam?
So that is, that was our biggest concern really, is the future. And so we do have an agreement, we're gonna get Frankie to review it, on, with the homeowner. She knows that this is kind of a one-time thing. We're not gonna come back every year and scoop this out. And the survey that the engineers did, basically the sediment buildup really stops a little over halfway down the pond. So the half of the pond, the length of the pond, half of it we're not even gonna touch. They're not gonna lower that part of the water level, anything like that. The dam is classified by DHEC as a high hazard dam. It has been for quite some time, and but it is privately owned, and the property owner does work with DHEC to make sure she's in compliance of that, but we are staying away from the dam so that we don't end up on the hook for anything related to that. So we've been having these conversations with the property owner for several years now. So the dam seems to be in pretty good shape. They've not let trees accumulate on it and stuff like that. That tends to break them down. You know, that's kind of where we are with that. And we do have the agreement that, you know, with her, that we're doing this is once because of this action. This is not a repeatable thing. I think we've done it before out there, but it was before there was as many regulations, and I'm pretty sure we just scooped it out and threw it up on the bank. But that was
So we have a very
moons ago.
specific and narrow agreement with the property owner?
Yes, that is the intention. Once we approve tonight, then we'll sign that with her. We didn't want to sign it before. We were committed.
Any other questions, comments?
Mayor, it sounds like our responsibility to get the sediment out of the pond that we contributed
Yes, sir.
to. So therefore move that we enter the agreement with Civil Pros for the dredging services.
First by Mr. Jeff Roberts,
Second.
second by Mr. Harvey. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Our last item of new business is request consideration of an ordinance authorizing the execution of an easement to Duke Energy Carolinas LLC across city property at 1815 Park Drive. Ms. McEwen?
Okay, a lot of activity in this area. Mr. Strickland will take care of this item.
Thank you, Mr. McEwen. Mayor and Council, what you have before you is a request for first reading of an ordinance to dedicated easement to Duke Energy. This is to perform some undergrounding of overhead utilities along Lindley Park. This is it's on the Park Drive side of Lindley Park, so the northbound lanes of the couplet there. But this is essentially at the if you're familiar with the current configuration of the site, where the construction trailer is, about 200 feet or so of easement dedicated to Duke, so they can put that mess of overhead utilities underground. We have a separate agreement, a separate work order with Charter Communications to put, or I'm sorry, not Charter, the parent company of AT&T now, to put those utilities underground as well. So it won't be completely underground around the entire park. There are just some areas that have to stay overhead. Our utility providers can't make the undergrounding work everywhere, but this is a key entrance into the park, and so we want to make sure that it's clear of overhead lines.
Good, thanks. Questions? Ms. Roberts?
At whose expense are these utilities going under?
Probably ours. Yeah, we're working through that. So we have some funds dedicated for undergrounding only that we can expend to do this, that don't impact the budget, that really can't be used any other way. But we're still kind of working out exactly how that works out.
I know that's expensive work, or can be, and I support, if you can put it underground, I support that.
Yeah, sure. It'll be in the 20 to 25,000 range.
It was a really short distance too.
Yeah, it's not a long way.
20 feet.
It's
Underground portion was 20 feet.
It's about 200 feet, but it's 30 feet wide.
Okay. Gotcha.
So, in the easement, under the rights granted herein, number 2, it says grantee shall have the right to trim, cut down, or remove from the easement area at any time or times, and using safe and generally accepted arboricultural practices, trees, limbs, undergrowth, other vegetation, and obstruction. So does this give Duke the right to basically come into the park and cut down any tree they want?
I will say they already have that authority beyond this
Okay.
agreement by state law. There's a
Okay.
statute for public utilities and private utilities, in their case, where they already have that authority. So they do that, they put that in their form template right here, but they're good at working with us on areas of focus, where such as this, where we have prime landscaping and things like that. They're not gonna just come on there and do that kind of work.
Does it have to be related specifically to one of their utility lines, or can they come and say, okay, I want that tree at the end, I'm gonna come on and cut that down?
Related to the reliability of power transmission.
Okay, and that's based on the state statute?
Yes.
Okay.
They
So
have-
and this wouldn't trump the state statute, expand those rights in any way that would
They basically
allow
just
them to get.
they basically just recite it
Okay.
and their form template that they do for their easements.
Okay.
And actually, one of the reasons for getting this easement in the first place was to prevent them from butchering any future landscape we put out there. So
They don't have a history of doing that with residents or,
they would never.
no. No, I think, they're a good company, don't get me wrong.
They're good partners.
They're good partners. They help a lot. Any other questions, comments?
That I'd make a motion, we approve this, Mayor.
First by Mr. Steele,
Second that.
second by Dr. Thompson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Well, guys, we're finished. We got a lot of work done, work session, council. Good job, everybody. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Have first by Mr. Martinez. Second by Mr. Harden. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We stand adjourned.